thought we'd read this book today. What do you think? The name of it is Raven Makes Drum. You're gonna like this. It's a good story. This story is called Raven Makes Drum. It's an old Skokomish story that was remembered by one of my friends out on the Northwest Coast. His name is Mr. Bruce Miller, and it was retold by another friend of mine, Roy Deboer. So there are a lot of storytellers in the Northwest Coast, and I'm going to share their story. Okay, Raven Makes Drum. Raven was very worried. Many of the animal people were behaving badly. The animal people had been warned by the Creator to behave themselves and to avoid the 4 seeds of destruction. Now the bear people and the killer whale people were taking all the salmon for themselves. The salmon people were blaming one another for their problems, along with the bears and the killer whales. The ant people wanted it to be daylight all the time so they could see as they worked. The bear people, however, wanted it to be dark all the time so they could sleep when they were too tired to hoard the salmon. The blue jay people were stealing everything they could take away from the other animal people, while the cougar people were eating the deer, elk, and many of the smaller or weaker people. No one was safe. Even family members were afraid of other members of their own family. Indeed, something had to be done to restore order and harmony to the animal people. The Creator had warned them that they must live in peace and harmony, or their world would be turned upside down, and that the human beings who were coming would rule the world. Raven knew he had to do something, but what? Even with his special powers, Raven knew he could not change the hearts of the animal people. Yet he had to do something to save them. Raven thought and thought and thought some more. One of the snipe people suggested to Raven that he fly up as high in the sky as he could to see if he could see an answer for the problem. Raven flew high above the land and sea and looked all about him for a possible answer. Then he saw it. The world below him appeared to be curved. The sky above was curved too. A pebble Raven was carrying fell into the sea below him. And circular ripples emerged from the spot where the pebble fell. Raven saw that the sun and the moon were also circular. Raven knew in his heart that the circle had to be a sacred thing. The circle had no beginning or ending point and seemed to say that everything was connected. Raven flew back to the earth and told some of the animal people what he saw. But how does the idea of a circle solve their problem? Frog spoke up. Why don't we make our own circle and see what happens? Cedar Tree agreed. Take a thin piece of wood from my side and bend it into a circle. One of the bear people, using his sharp claws, cut into the side of the cedar tree and pulled off a thin strip of cedar wood. Raven, snipe, and blue jay bent the cedar strip, using steam from the hot springs to soften the wood, allowing the wood to bend without cracking. The ends of the cedar strip were fastened together with bear grass, and now they had made a circle from the body of their brother cedar tree. Now what? Said Cougar, who had been watching from a nearby rock. Raven didn't know. The circle looked beautiful, but what to do with it? Then Deer spoke up. I'm near to the end of my life. When I pass to the spirit world, take my hide and stretch it over the circle. Decorate my skin with their sacred symbols. Maybe this will give us the answer. When Deer passed on to the spirit world, Cougar removed Deer's skin and Raven attached it to the cedar circle. Hummingbird, using colors from Mother Earth, painted the deer hide with powerful symbols of the spirit world. And now the circle object seemed complete. But somehow, the question of how the deer hide circle would restore harmony remained. Now what? Asked Ant. What do we do with the circle object? That was a good question. The deer hide circle was indeed beautiful, but nothing was happening. The salmon people were still being eaten at an alarming rate. The elk were eating all the deer's food, and the cougar people were preying on nearly everyone else. Raven set the circle object next to a large rock near the beach. Raven and all his friends and relatives thought and thought, and then they thought some more. Suddenly, something caught their attention. A reverberating sound of a heartbeat began to surround them. The rhythmical beating had not been heard since they were in their mother's wombs. The beating of a mother's heart, the warm, comforting throb of the pulse of their life and of all life around them. The throbbing of the heart sound caught the attention of all the animal people, and they drew near to better hear the comforting beating sounds and the memory of their mother's safe, warm wombs. Raven looked about and saw that Seagull was dropping pebbles on the deer circle and causing the drum circle to speak. Raven and the animal people saw that this was what was missing from their lives. The measured throbbing of the deer hide circle touched the hearts of all the animal people and brought them together, bound by the heart throbs of life. All of the animal people got together and made their own sacred circles and called them drums, after the drum sound of the heart. Soon the animal people were dancing their own stories to the pulse of the drum and singing the songs of their lives to the cadence of their hearts. Raven knew the Creator had shown him the path to harmony by honoring their common culture.
Yo!